Eze and Gyokeres are so interesting because one was the signing that we all were convinced was going to work, and I think we all agree isn't working at the moment. And the other is someone that really divided the fan base and continues to, because while he's amongst the goals, and I think his performances have improved, plenty of people say, no, I'm not seeing enough from him. And the bar is so, so low for a player that was meant to come in and make the difference and score the goals to send us to the title. This all spills into a bigger debate and conversation around Arsenal's attack. And I was honestly, it's just the last few days debating on X, seeing people's thoughts around players and platforming and who's been a success, who hasn't. The Kai Havertz injury. It's got me thinking a lot about Arsenal's attack. Now, normally I'd rock up here on the Goonerverse and I would talk with more data, more stats. I'd break this down in a little bit more detail. But I'm going to be really honest with you. This is just a piece to camera. I mean, other than some notes and some bullet points, don't forget my points. I'm just sort of running with my thoughts here a little bit. I'd love to know what you all think, because the conversations around Arsenal and the attacking football we play, I find is binary the word? Like, people almost, they hone in too much on one particular argument over another, and the reality is both have merit, and if both have merit, then what's the context that we're missing? Let me see if I can explain that a little bit better. So, Eze and Gyokeres, I think we could all agree, aren't performing to the level that we wanted them to when we signed them. I saw Eze as a left-sided player who could cover in the 10, and I saw Gyokeres as an in-behind runner who'd get into the right space in the box and score goals. It's fair to say neither are doing either of those, and even in the roles they're being asked to play more, they're looking like they're falling short. Now, because I know there's a lot of fans of Victor Gyokeres out there, before people get on to me, I thought he was great against Brentford. I thought his hold-up play, his strength against defenders, his touches, his looking after the ball, creates the chance for Timber and Martinelli at the end. I think Gyokeres did really well in that game. But let's not sugarcoat it. He's not been the success story that we hoped he would be, and Eze certainly hasn't either. But I really am moving towards my conversation around players and Arsenal's attack, getting to a point where I just think, can I really blame them? You know, I mentioned trends earlier as a word I used. How many times do we have to say, well, Saka's not been at his best, he's not been amongst the goals. And Martinelli, well, he's not been the same player for a few years. And Ødegaard hasn't looked like the Ødegaard of 23-24. Waneri's gone out on loan because he's not quite ready yet. Kai Havertz, listen, he's looked really good since coming back from injury. He's injured again, unfortunately, now. But we can't say he's been like a roaring success amongst all Arsenal fans for sure. Jesus, for whatever reason, there's a frustration with him in front of goal. And now we add Victor Gyokeres and Emirates Eze to that. Even Leandro Trossard, who I think we'd all agree has been our best forward this season, I think we all agree doesn't make a Premier League team of the season. Like, he's not even been at a level where we can put him in that conversation, in my opinion. Maybe some of you will say he's in the conversation, but I don't think anyone's going, no, that's definitely his spot. Madueke, I mean, he's been as frustrating as he has been lightning at times. You watch him and go, wow, this is a proper winger who can take on his fullback and cause chaos. And then other times you're just like ripping your hair out, going, oh, what? You know, how is that your own product, mate? So again, you take all those players, and I think you just stop to go, you stop and you go, so you're all struggling to a degree. I don't think anyone is playing their absolute best football right now that they've played in their careers in an Arsenal shirt. And Arsenal might well win the league without an attacker being one of the form attackers in the league, without like an attacking superstar. Now, I actually think that has been done before. I think too many people are making, I don't know, a bit of a meal of that. But we don't have anyone that we're even kind of necessarily particularly happy with, outside of maybe Leandro Trossard. So again, when everybody is struggling, and that is a huge amount of depth, huge amount of talent that I've spoken about there. When everyone is struggling, at what point do you say, well, it can't be on them? You know, I can go on fan camps. I can say I want more from Ødegaard, which I do. I've said that. Or that Madueke, great goal against Brentford, but I need to see more. Eze, miles off it recently. Gyokeres, you know, the debate online that I've been having with people. Some people are so vehemently like, no, Gyokeres is not good enough. He's not the guy. Okay, fine. But at what point do we stop the conversation being around the players and we look beyond that? So let's do that. Let's move beyond the players and talk about it. It maybe from a tactical perspective, a coaching perspective, a managerial perspective, looking at Arteta. Arteta's got us top of the league. 4 points clear, and I know it should be more. I know. But let's just, we're 4 points ahead. Top of the Champions League table, 8 wins out of 8. You all know the context around the Cups. It's all looking really good on paper. It's so difficult for me to sit here and say, Arteta, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. We need more. It's difficult as it is, because look at me, armchair fan who's just, giving my thoughts, having never done an ounce of coaching in my life. It's actually not true, but anyway, you get my point. How can I say that when ultimately we're in such a good position? How can I be too critical when ultimately we're in such a good position? And maybe there's an element of you can't go all the way there on the attacking full throttle football front when you're competing all these fronts. It's fundamentally not doable. That's when you pick up way too many injuries to handle. That's when you lose momentum, you get tired, and you do start to fall out of competitions, and things get really ugly. So maybe there's a degree of handbrake because it means almost tiptoeing your way through the season, but treading lightly, treading carefully, and you're going to get there safely at the end. Like, maybe there's an element of that. Maybe there's an element of Arteta knows, like, yeah, I could get more out of Saka. I could get more out of Noni and Eze. I could platform him better. I could get Erdegaard in areas of the pitch he's more comfortable. I could get Gyokeres running on the last line more, not dropping deep. But I'm not asking them to do that because the team and the function of the team is better when the players are doing roles that are uncomfortable to them, but at least they're doing the roles. Maybe he thinks, I'd rather they almost like repressed all that individualism and attacking instinct. And I know Arteta fights against this. I know he says, no, I want them to go and express themselves. I know players have come out and said that. But I don't feel that is wholly true, if I'm really honest. So maybe there's a degree of, and repress is probably strong, but maybe it's a case of, look, we're going to need you to calm down the things you probably really instinctively want to do, because I need you to be able to deliver these things off the ball and deliver these particular functions and movements and tactical ideas so that the bigger picture can flourish. And if we do, if that's how it goes and we go and win everything, will any of us complain? Absolutely not. We'll be delighted. But maybe Arteta knows. Maybe Arteta sat there going, basically, is he in a room going, but my setup is perfect for them to flourish going forward. I mean, they should all be playing brilliantly. I don't get what the problem is. No, I don't think he is doing that. I think there's an element of, yeah, we know we're not amazing at this, but that's okay because we're going to do more of this. If we get over the line, I think we can stomach that as Arsenal fans. We can go, yeah, brilliant. And trust me, we'll be at the parade and we will love it and we won't care how we did it. But if we don't, does it feel like we've jumped too far from A, what we just enjoy as football fans, but B, we've heard a lot about Man United DNA, Tottenham DNA, as they're talking about all these managers. Have we gone too far from what I feel is quite crucial Arsenal DNA? Which is, no, youngsters like Lewis Skelly and Wanera with that talent, they're going to play a part. And we're going to play front-footed attacking football. We're going to keep the ball on the floor. And we're going to be the entertainers of the league. Now, some will say, look, there are Arsenal sides in history that weren't the entertainers and won. And that's fine. Maybe that's a part of our DNA too. That's cool. But how much do we stomach this when we're not winning? Now, at the moment, it looks like we're going to. But it's just a question I'll leave you all with. Jose Mourinho won the title. And in that, he didn't get the best out of Andre Schürrle. Juan Mata, he let go from Chelsea. Mo Salah, Kevin De Bruyne. These are top players. Two of them have gone on to be absolute Premier League greats. And Juan Mata was an unbelievable player for Chelsea. Do Chelsea fans reflect negatively on those sales or the work Jose Mourinho did? No, they don't really. I mean, sure, there's probably a preference. I'd rather we kept them. But I don't think there's any kind of there's no stain on what Jose Mourinho did in those years because it didn't work with those players. I think, if anything, it's just, well, we won. We delivered. We won, and that's what it's about. And those players who we now know are magnificent talents and have flourished since leaving Chelsea, ultimately, the fans are probably like, yeah, no, good for you, but this is what Mourinho needed to win, and he got that. Didn't stifle Conte a few years later not having those players either. So it's a really difficult one. You can also talk, and I probably should have spent more time with this, but you can also talk about the landscape of the Premier League. Okay, we talk about our attackers struggling. I don't think Phil Foden has been brilliant this season. I think he had a really good month. Shirky's been in and out, had his moments. Haaland I think he only just scored his first goal from open play in 9 games or something. Isak, before his leg break, certainly wasn't looking like the player that Liverpool thought they'd signed from Newcastle. Now, of course, there's an Ekitike, but now Voltemade is struggling. Jan Wissa, who's getting the numbers, was struggling last season. And Bermo, brilliant, running and beyond for Man United, but the minute the West Ham had bodies there, he struggled to have the same impact. So is it just the landscape of the Premier League? It is more physical, centre-backs and defences are more organised than ever, and that individualism coming through is tougher than ever before, because maybe not only are managers stifling that a little bit in the modern day tactics, but oppositions are stifling those players too, because the setups are so difficult to play through as a collective or as an individual. So a few things I've gone into there. Essentially, I think my conclusion to all this is this. I'm going to stop getting so wound up by Eze, Erdegaard, Madueke, Saka I've defended a lot, but Martinelli I've certainly been critical of, Jesus, Gyokeres, everyone. Because when it is true of so many players, how can you sort of just blame them all? Like, if so many, not just across the team, but across the league are struggling, how can we kind of keep berating them when clearly there's a wider issue and a wider context around it? Would I want Arteta to be more expansive? Sure. But if he wins the league, I don't care how he does it, because to a degree, he's been kind of ahead of the curve in terms of what the Premier League was going to become, what it was going to require, and Arsenal have had the tools for a lot of that this season. And maybe this is a year where, you know what, you're going to draw your Forests away and your Brentfords away, but make sure you win your home games. Now, of course, we didn't against Liverpool and Man United. They're very good sides with good players. But maybe that is more the landscape of the Premier League now. And while we're fearing the idea of City going on a run of 5, 6, 7 games in a row, maybe the reality is that Chelsea away, which is coming for them, Leeds away, which is pretty soon, maybe those might be draws and drop points, and that is just the nature of it. And we'll go, oh, okay, fine. Like, you know, everyone's taking points off everyone. And the idea that anyone is going to stand miles above that standard in the Premier League and be a total outlier is just unrealistic. Maybe that's all true too. But I'll end on this final thought. For all I've tried to explore the wider context, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to be almost nicer about the attackers' performances and acknowledge that they're probably taking on a lot of defensive instruction, they're playing a hell of a lot of football, and that this team isn't built to thrive going forward. For all I think that is true, I do look at Arteta and think, can you tweak to platform certain players a little bit better without totally compromising on your principles? I've mentioned this in a few videos, but can Eze play off the left of Gyokeres? So he's in the left 8 space. So when Rice bombs forward, he's the channel runner supporting Madueke or Saka, not Timber, where he's playing in those spaces and looking really uncomfortable. But then you've still got your off the ball. It's still Zubimendi Rice. It's still Eze Gyokeres. But everyone is just playing the areas of the pitch they're a little bit more comfortable with. And they've got the right support. And they've got the right dynamics of bombing right-footed, Declan Rice supporting as opposed to a right-back in Timber or Eze, who isn't a right channel player, but more a left channel player. Then you maybe get a little bit more of him. Then you maybe get a bit more combinations and fluidity between him and Trossard. That hopefully frees up the left back and Nketiah or Calafiori to try rediscover their best form. Are those dynamics and are those tweaks that totally rip up the playbook? I don't think they are. But are they tweaks that can maybe maintain what we've done well this season, but just get an extra 2, 3, 4, maybe 5% out of players? I think so. So I think my conclusion, from a position of having never coached, never got to this level before, I just, as humbly as possible, think that we have to just watch the season play out before we go too hard on Arteta or these players for what they're giving us in terms of goals and thrill and attacking football. But I do still think, no matter how it ends, there's an opportunity there to platform some players a little bit better, get them in the areas they're a little bit more comfortable in, so that everything else can just go up 5%, and maybe those margins that haven't fallen our way in the Premier League, like Forest, like Brentford, maybe start to a little bit more, and it could mean a couple crucial extra points. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section below. It's a Valentine's Day video. I hadn't even thought of that. There we go. But let me know your thoughts, everyone. But I'd love to know what you think. And yeah, Arsenal play tomorrow against Wigan, and we'll cover it all in the Goonerverse. Big thanks for tuning in. I'll see you very soon.